Hey everyone! Today we're going to be talking about layered versus timed peels, and I'm going to be applying a layered peel and a timed peel to talk to you about the way that the product works, what to look for your endpoint, and different ways that you can apply those products. First, I am going to prep my skin, and I'm going to prep it using the Oxygen Skin Regenerative Peel. Okay, so I'm going to start out by putting about 1.5 pumps in my little dish. And then I'm going to take a 4x4 gauze, fold it in half, and then fold it in half again. And so now I am just applying it all over my face. I'm using some pressure and really exfoliating that in. So I'm just working that in just a little bit with that gauze. Okay, so the oxygen peel. It does have a small amount of lactic acid in it. It does have a 5% lactic acid, but this is a self-neutralizing peel, so it does not need to be removed. You're going to apply it, wait the full 2 minutes before moving on to the other products that you will be applying afterwards. Now, if you were doing the oxygen peel on its own, you would apply it, wait the full 2 minutes, then apply another layer, wait the full 2 minutes, apply another layer. So since it is a layered peel, you do need to make sure that you are waiting the full amount of time in between each layers. So it has been about a minute. I did have a little bit of activity. The oxygen peel can feel just a little bit prickly. It's not a hot peel by any means. You're not going to feel a lot of heat on your skin. You're not going to feel like you need a fan when you're doing the oxygen peel. It just feels like some prickly mildness on the skin. Okay, so the oxygen peel, it's an oxygen-based peel, and it does have a 5% lactic acid. This is a layered peel, so it does not need to be removed. It completely self-neutralizes. You do want to wait 2 minutes in between each layer, and then 2 minutes before applying anything afterwards. So let it fully self-neutralize before moving on to the next step with the oxygen peel. Now, this is one that you can use on your own, just as an oxygen peel, or it's one that you can use as a pre-treat. I love using this as a pre-treat. I feel like I'm getting the benefits of the oxygen and reversing some of that hypoxia in my skin, and this is an amazing pre-treat to use for your photo damage clients or for your clients that just have that dull appearance on their skin. This is going to be a great pre-treat for them. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the lactic 30. This is a timed peel. So with the lactics and any of the lactic 30, the lactic 50, the chocolate peel, the intense antioxidant professional exfoliator, or the AHA active exfoliator, those are all timed peels. So you're going to put those on the skin. You're going to watch the skin for that dark erythema before removing it. So when you start seeing that dark pinkening effect or the reddening coming through on the skin, that is when you want to remove it. You do remove it with just cool, wet towels. Make sure they're cool. You do not want to use heat on the skin when removing a chemical peel. You can increase the inflammation in the skin, which can then lead to post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So cold towel. Now, the timed peels are gel-based. You can tell when I'm dispensing it out that it is a gel type consistency. So these are the timed peels. You can apply the timed peels with your fingers. You can apply them with an aesthetic wipe, a gauze, or even a fan brush. So I'm going to use the fan brush today. And then after I'm done with this lactic 30, I'm actually going to apply some TCA 15% on top. After I remove it, I'm going to apply some TCA 15% on top. Now, the reason why I'm going to do my timed lactic peel before the TCA, you can honestly do it in whatever order you feel you see fit. You can apply your timed or layered peels first. You're still going to see the great results. Right now, I am applying my timed peel first because I do not want to have to remove this lactic peel after I have done a layer or two of the TCA. That's going to be way uncomfortable for me, and so I'm doing the lactic 30 first. Once I'm done, I'm going to apply a couple layers of the TCA 15. That way I do not need to remove anything, and I can just let the skin kind of recover after having that peel. So I have this on. Now, one thing you can do if you are doing a timed peel, you can go in after you have applied it and massage it into the skin. Now, since lactic acid does have a large molecule and it is a slower penetrating acid, massaging it into the skin will actually drive those molecules in quicker into the skin and allow them to penetrate quicker. But I can feel that I'm starting to process pretty quick right here, around my nose and right here. And we're just watching for that erythema on the skin. Okay, I hope you guys can see this with the light, with my ring light. You can tell that I am starting to get some erythema up in this area. Around my nasolabial folds, I'm starting to get a little bit. Okay, now, so I feel like I'm showing quite a bit of erythema. Now, I don't feel like my cheeks are completely done processing, but right here underneath on that cheekbone. So I am just going to just lightly remove it just where I feel like I'm done processing in this area. I don't want to remove it everywhere. So I'm just kind of spot removing right now. This is not something that you have to do. You can remove it all at once your client is done. But I know that I really want to get the benefits of that lactic acid to help break apart some of my post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, to help with my fine lines and wrinkles, and also to help boost that moisture content in my skin. So one thing that you do also want to make sure is when you are removing the timed peel on your client, just dab. If you go in and you try to rub it off, it's going to feel extremely uncomfortable for your client. So just pressing it into the skin feels really good, and you're not going to risk damaging the skin at all or making your client feel any more uncomfortable. It's been on for about 7 minutes, and I do have some, erythema right here where I did already remove it. I could definitely process longer on my cheeks, but I am going to remove it since I am applying a layered peel. So now that I'm removing it, I am just dabbing. If there are areas where you feel like the peel's not coming off as well just by dabbing it, you can just lightly rub. That doesn't hurt if you're just lightly rubbing. But if you went in and aggressively started rubbing that off, or rubbed it off with the same pressure that you remove like a cleanser with or a mask, that would feel extremely uncomfortable right now. My skin does feel pretty tender. It feels pretty tender right now. Everywhere I press, it feels kind of like little needles in a way, so it is a little tender feeling. Now, the lactic peels and our timed peels, they're not hot. They don't feel hot. You're not going to feel like you're on fire. You're not necessarily going to feel like you even need a fan. They're going to feel more of like a prickly itch. To me, lactic acid feels like I just kind of want to scratch my face. So if your client is feeling a little uncomfortable when they do have one of the lactic or timed peels on, you can sit there and do more tapotement motions on their skin, and that will trick their brain. And their brain will pay attention to the tapotement motions and not that itchiness that you can feel on the skin while that lactic is sitting and processing. So now I'm going to move on to a timed peel. Now, with how my skin is feeling right now, I most likely will only be able to handle 1, maybe 2 passes of the TCA 15%. I'm not looking to bring my skin to a full face frost. I'm just basing it on my comfort level. And the reason why I am adding this in is just to give me just kind of a really nice refresh this fall. I do want to help lighten a little bit of the pigmentation that I got this summer, help reduce some of my acne scars that I have. I just want to give myself a nice little refresh with this TCA 15 peel. So this is a layered peel. So the layered peels are going to be your liquid peels. So you can tell that it's that liquid base. You do want to make sure that you do not leave your peels open. Always close them tight after you have dispensed them out. If you leave your peels open, you can actually oxidize them. They're going to lose their potency, and you're not going to be able to deliver those great results for your clients. So always seal your bottles in between each layer. Never leave them open. Okay, now for the TCA, I'm going to use a non-woven gauze once again, a 4x4. Now with the layered peels, you do want to make sure that your gauze is saturated, and you want to make sure that each layer leaves your skin or your client's skin looking wet. You don't want to apply it on and not really be able to tell that you applied a layer. You want to make sure that that chemical peel is able to fully penetrate into the skin. So you can tell that this is wet on my skin. Now, the amount of pressure that you use just is personal preference. I use some pressure, but I'm not fully pushing it into the skin. But I'm just worried more about leaving my skin wet looking. Now, this is feeling extremely hot on my skin. My skin is very tender. It's very hot. I would probably want a fan if I were a client at this point. But before you give your client a fan, we want to make sure that we have allowed that layer to marinate into the skin a little bit more. If you just pull out a fan right away, you can actually dry up and evaporate some of that chemical peel, and that may lessen the aggressiveness of that chemical peel. So wait as long as your client can handle before handing them the fan. But having that cold air, it definitely feels good. So I'm going to wait 3 to 5 minutes in between each layer. Most likely I am going to come in and do a second layer, but that initial shock of applying that peel right at first, it was a little intense. So make sure you are telling your client what to expect. It's very important as an esthetician that we know what the chemical peels feel like. That way we can tell our clients and they're not surprised when we start applying a chemical peel on them and it starts feeling warm. Now, the way that I will typically describe the chemical peels to my clients, so your lactic, so your timed peels are going to feel more itchy or prickly, where your layered peels like your TCA, your Jesner, and especially your Sals. So your Sals and your Jesners, those are going to be your hot products. Those are going to be the ones where your client is going to be on fire. It's going to spike up that activity level really quick. So just making sure your client knows this is going to be a hot peel. They'll definitely appreciate that. They'll definitely appreciate knowing what to expect. Now the TCA, you will feel some heat in your skin from the TCA. It's an interesting heat though. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're on fire. You have heat in your skin, but you just feel really raw and just kind of uncomfortable, but it's definitely doable. So you can definitely get through it. Each layer that you apply with a layered peel will get more and more uncomfortable with each layer. So just be aware, just make sure you are telling your clients that each layer will feel more aggressive than the last layer. Make sure you are watching your client's skin for that frosting. Now, a full face frost is when the skin appears white looking. So if you have some patches of frosting or you have some light frosting, if you feel comfortable, you can go back over that until you get a white frosting on the skin. Only perform the chemical peel based on your comfort level. And just know that GlyMed does offer advanced chemical peel courses. So if you are looking to advance your chemical peel knowledge and the aggressiveness of your chemical peels, we do offer advanced chemical peel courses. Okay, so it has been a full 5 minutes since I did my last layer of TCA. So I'm going to apply my next one. Now, I am a wuss when it comes to chemical peels. I hate the discomfort, and so I will often stop myself before I bring myself to a full face frost, just because in my mind, I'm always like, oh, I'll just do another one. I don't need to bring myself to that full face frost. But okay, so it's been the full 5 minutes. I am now going to apply my second layer. Now, when I lift my head up and make movements, it's uncomfortable. So I definitely feel raw and tender. So just be aware that when you are applying a second layer of a layered peel, it is going to feel more uncomfortable for your client. So I'm going to start on the opposite side, and I'm really working it on my cheeks because that is where I have my acne scars the worst, that I'm really trying to lighten them. And then that's where I also have the pigmentation. Whew. Okay, so I am a huge wuss when it comes to peels. I hate strong peels on myself. I'm a wuss, but I still do them. because I love the results, but I don't enjoy the discomfort. Some people don't mind it. Some people can totally go layer after layer after layer without even flinching. So if you are one of those people, oh, I look up to you, but I am a huge wuss. I get uncomfortable and I don't fully love it. So just be aware that if you do have a client like me, sometimes you do need to baby them just a little bit more. Okay, so I did apply my second layer. It's been about 2.5 minutes. I do have some frosting, so I will try to get up close and see if we can see that. I did go through and just kind of spot treated some areas that I did have some pigment that I was really trying to lighten, but I definitely frosted around this area. Now, one thing that we have been seeing, people have been frosting quicker and processing quicker this season because of masks. Really be aware that if you are doing a peel on a client that is wearing a mask at their job 8 hours a day, be extremely careful around the area where the mask sits. We have been seeing that people are processing quicker in those areas. So just be aware. That's one thing to really add on to your client consultation when you are talking to them about their treatments and what peel you are deciding on doing on them. Ask them how many hours a day they are wearing their mask, because that makes a huge difference. Okay, so I'm gonna get close and hopefully you guys can see the frosting. So I do have some all right here along my jaw. Hopefully you can see that in this light. I do have some right here on the cheek. And it's just some mild frosting right here. Now, if I were my client and I was wanting to get to a full face frost, I would still go over and apply another layer in these areas, but I would actually avoid right here. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but I definitely have a deeper frost right here and right here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but if I were to do a third layer, which I'm not, because I don't want to go through that discomfort, but if I were, I would just apply here and especially on my forehead. My forehead could definitely use another layer. I'm hardly showing any frosting, but I just don't want to go through the discomfort of another layer. So I am totally happy with where I am at. I know I'm going to get great results still. Now, with the TCA peels, the Gesner and the salicylic peels, since those are layered peels, you do want to wait the 3 to 5 minutes in between each layer, and then the full 5 minutes before applying your finishing products. Those do not need to be removed. Those are self-neutralizing products. So you just leave those on the skin. Since it has been the full 5 minutes, I am going to apply my finishing products. I'm going to try a different cocktail today, and I will let you guys know how I like it. So I'm going to cocktail the CBD B3 facial mist with the living cell just in my hand. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because I want the benefits from that CBD, but I also want some of that niacinamide as well. Press it into the skin. Rubbing it into the skin would feel very uncomfortable right now, especially where I do have that frosting and my skin feels very tender. The last thing I would want to do is start rubbing those finishing products into my skin. Now, applying water-based serums after the TCA, the Gesner, or the salicylic acid peels, that can completely spike that activity again and make your client feel uncomfortable. So when you press it into the skin, that's also giving them a little bit, it kind of distracts the brain and they just focus on the pressure of your hands instead of the discomfort from those products being applied. So just pressing it into the skin feels really good. Okay, so now I'm going to add the cell protection serum in the Ultra Hydrogel. This is great to use after a clinical procedure, and I am lightly rubbing. I'm hardly using any pressure whatsoever, or you can again do the pressing. That one feels good as well. But using the cell protection serum after a clinical treatment will replenish those ceramides and lipids. And the cell protection serum and Ultra Hydrogel are two products that you definitely want your clients to use as their post-care. Mega Purifying Cleanser, Living Cell Clarifier, cell protection serum, ultra hydrogel, and then sunscreen. And now I'm applying sunscreen. Now I like using the Gel 15 after a treatment because it is very lightweight and it's not going to spike the activity. Now, after you have applied finishing products after a peel, it is common to see some sunscreens ball up. That can happen, and it's just because we already have so much on our skin. I just applied quite a bit of the cell protection serum and ultra hydrogel. So instead of rubbing this into the skin, I'm just going to press it in, and that will keep it from balling up. Okay, and now I'm going to show you guys a great new cocktail that you can finish your clients off with if you have done a stronger layered peel on them. So I'm going to cocktail together the Cell Protection Balm, the CBD Power Balm, and then some of the Oxygen Booster. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see it. I just have a little dab of the Cell Protection Balm. That's the CBD Powder Booster, and then, the CBD Power Balm, and then the Oxygen Booster. So I'm just going to rub these all together. Adding in the Oxygen Booster into your cell protection serum actually helps speed up the healing process when it's added to that cell protection balm. Now, one thing you also do want to make sure is if you have a client that you're doing a stronger peel on, like the TCA 15, vitamin A, Jesner, salicylic, having them apply the cell protection balm throughout the day will actually keep them more comfortable. And you do want to make sure that they are healing in a moist wound healing environment. So making sure that they are applying the cell protection balm throughout the day will leave them more comfortable, lessen any likelihood of the skin cracking, drying out, getting infected, causing damage, causing post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, or even scarring. So it's very important if you are doing a stronger peel on your client that they are using something like the cell protection balm afterwards and applying it as often as they need to keep them comfortable. Also, make sure that your client knows to not pick, the proper way to wash their face afterwards. You don't want to go in and just start washing your skin and rubbing off the dead skin. You want to make sure that when they are getting to that point where they're starting to peel, that they're very lightly washing their face and not just going in and rubbing that cleanser on their skin, because then the peeling skin can ball up, which will prematurely peel your client's skin. But I hope this helped. I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of a difference between the timed peels and the layered peels in different ways that you can use them. And I hope you guys are all doing amazing. Bye.